March 18, 1968, Soviet Defense Minister Marshal Andrei Grechko addresses his top generals. I have just returned from a Politburo meeting. It was decided that Warsaw Pact troops will enter Czechoslovakia. This decision will be made even if it leads to a Third World War. Moscow, March 18, 1968. The Prague Spring was a period of political liberalization and mass protest in the Czechoslovak Socialist Republic. It began on January 5, 1968, when reformist Alexander Dubček was elected first secretary of the Communist Party of Czechoslovakia, and continued until August 21, 1968, when the Soviet Union and other Warsaw Pact members invaded the country to suppress the reforms. These reforms promised additional rights to the citizens in an act of partial decentralization of economy and democratization. On August 21, 1968, more than 200,000 troops of the Warsaw Pact crossed into Czechoslovakia. Negotiations between Dubček and Soviet bloc leaders failed to convince the Czech leader to back away from his reformist platform. The military intervention on August 21st indicated that the Soviets believed that Dubček was going too far and needed to be restrained. On August 22nd, thousands of Czechs gathered in central Prague to protest the Soviet action and demand the withdrawal of foreign troops. Although it was designed to be a peaceful protest, violence often flared, and several protesters were killed on August 22nd and in the days to come. Resistance to the invasion started immediately. Civilians met soldiers with arguments and condemnations. Signs and graffiti denounced the invasion. People brought pictures of Dubček into the street and gave wrong direction to the invading soldiers. The night of the invasion, the Czechoslovak military was told to stay in the barracks. The morning of August 21st, statements from Czechoslovak Communist Party Presidium were read over Prague radio, denounced the invasion and pleading that civilians stay calm. Soon after, youth demonstrated in the streets, forming human blockades in front of tanks, later using overturned buses and vehicles. Radio broadcasters advocated passive resistance, alerting the public that the invaders were looking for an excuse to attack. In some confrontations in Prague and other cities, rude gestures and calls for Soviets to go home led to soldiers opening fire, killing and wounding protesters. Some resistors threw Molotov cocktail in return, destroying some tanks and killing the tank crews. Immediately after this incident, Dubček denounced violence over the radio. Even still, some unorganized violent resistance did continue to occur. Shortly after, Soviet forces captured Dubček, along with other prominent Czechoslovak reformers. More leaflets were distributed. A petition circulated calling for the release of Dubček. Newspapers and magazines continued to publish, often with words legal or free, indicating that they were not in the hand of occupations. The call to strike was broadcasted over the radio, in addition to call for go slow of railway workers, which successfully delayed to the transport of radio jammers to the occupiers. The radio served relying updates about negotiation in Moscow. On August 23rd, Soviet leaders agreed to let Czechoslovakian President Svoboda travel to Moscow for negotiations. He insisted that Dubček and others be present at the negotiation table. After 4 days of negotiation in Moscow, the Czechoslovakian delegation accepted the Moscow Protocol, which allowed most Czechoslovakian leaders to remain in power, but implicitly condemned the post-January reforms. The agreement demanded the increased suppression of opposition groups and tighter censorship policy. It also allowed Soviet forces to remain in Czechoslovakia. One person, chairman of National Front František Krigl, refused to sign the protocol. He was stripped of all official duties and was later expelled from the party. Public reaction to the protocol was mixed, with many seeing it as failure of the resistance. Mass resistance is said to have lasted for about 7 days, after which the resistors became exhausted and party demoralized.